Hey, welcome back to Scar Bears. I'm Chris DT Gordon. It's great to have you here. I'm joined with my new friend Siannon-Lee. How are you today, Shannon?
Hey, Chris, thank you so much. I'm very, very good. How are you?
Oh, excellent, excellent. Thanks. So we were talking before that we have a shared experience in high school and college sports that we both played soccer.
Yes, yes, awesome. Big
And
soccer fan.
yes, and do you have
Absolutely.
a favorite team right now, or just like the game
Any team
itself?
that is on the Mexican restaurant TV is my favorite team.
Okay, good to know. And we are also were blessed to play midfield. Though you didn't start there, did you?
I did not start at the midfield. No, I did not. I started in the defense pretty much. Wow, for what do you call junior varsity, and then I moved up once I got to varsity.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it's really important to play the different positions.
Yeah, it's good to know what you like and what you want to stay away from.
Yeah, and they have different challenges,
Hmm.
in those different positions. Obviously, each person has their own job, and um, it's uh, it's interesting when you move around to kind of shift yourself at the same time in what you where you need to be and who you need to support. So,
Hmm.
kind of life happens that way a little bit too, right?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I was going to say it reminds me a lot of your story of enlisting in the Navy. And first of all, thank you for your service.
You're very
Can you
welcome.
tell a little bit about what spurred you on to join the Navy?
Yeah, that's a funny question. Most It's basically, I'm from upstate New York and was in a grew up in a very, very small town. And I mean, when I say small, I mean I graduated with 37 people. Right.
That is small. That is,
Very small, yes.
yeah, you can
And
when you can fit your entire graduating class on a bus. That is
correct,
pretty small.
very small. So, yeah, so there wasn't, in rural upstate New York, there wasn't a whole lot going on other than, truck stops and the like. And I not to say that I didn't love learning. I loved learning, but I loved learning what I wanted to learn. So I was not a happy camper if I was being forced to learn something that I really didn't care about. So I did go to college, and they make you take all those prerequisites, which seemed like a absolute waste of time and waste of
Mhm.
money. And I was very disgruntled about that. So I was like, because I was paying for
Yeah.
it. So yeah, so I was like, that's just not the kind of person that, it just wasn't lighting me up. And I'm like, I like to be working. I like to be
Mhm.
working. And I couldn't see myself continuing on in college. And I was just like, because I knew I liked business, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was I liked about it. So,
Okay.
looking around at the possibilities and opportunities at that time, I just was, like some of my family had been in the military, my grandfather, my father, my aunt. And I was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And it was a good opportunity to just get out of upstate rural New York and see what it would bring. So that's what I did. And as a matter of fact, I went to the MEPS recruiting station on the weekend, and basically they told me, you can leave in 6 months or you can leave in 6 days.
Wow.
And yeah, and so I chose to leave in 6 days.
Okay.
So I turned around. I was living on Cape Cod at the time, and I turned around and packed my stuff that weekend, brought everything back to my parents' house, dropped it off, got on a plane, and headed for Orlando, Florida um, for boot camp.
Okay. Now MEPS is that the recruitment station?
Yeah, MEPS is a
Okay.
recruitment station. Yeah.
Okay. All
Yep.
right. So you flew off to Orlando for boot camp, and then after boot camp, where did you go next?
So I went to my duty station was in California, was in San Diego. I went to
Okay.
Miramar actually, which was Top Gun back then.
Hmm.
And so that was cool. And so I started in in Miramar for the first 2 years, although Bill Clinton was the president of the United States at the time, and he started closing down bases quite rapidly, and reorganizing the military. And so Miramar was closed after the 2 years. They already offered me an early out, which I declined, and then I went down to NAS North Island on Coronado, and I finished out another 2 years there with the base supply, had medals, had accommodations, and it was a really great experience. It was a really great
Excellent.
experience for the most part. I did take a couple trips out on the boat because every woman should do that.
Yeah.
That's a good time. So, yeah.
And so, did you have any tours of duty or any experiences beyond those boat tours?
No, not really. Just a couple times out on from the squadron, because they have to do a certain amount of qualifications. I was extremely sick the first time, as in I think I had some kind of fever, but you go anyway, and you have to get up every single day at 5 o'clock in the morning, no matter how bad you feel, and go to sick call to go, like, I'm not coming to work today because it's not safe for me to be on a flight deck. So, but yeah, other than that, and went out on the Nimitz, which is a big carrier, and that was out in San Diego at that time. So just those 2 different times on the boat, but other than that, nothing long term. I mean, the longest was like a month.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, after the military, what did you do then?
Well, now that was 1992 to 1996, and that was during the Gulf War period. And so everybody that went in that was enlisted in that time, we were required to get inoculations, whether we were going to go overseas or not. And so after about 3 years ish, 2.5 to 3 years, started feeling badly. And, I wasn't really sure why at the time, but, other than probably a lot of stress and not good food. Not the
What,
greatest
20
food.
somethings not eating well? What are you talking
Yeah, I
about?
know, right? Yeah, Womberto's at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know why that's just not good for you.
Yeah.
But that's where my love of Mexican food came in to play. So
Gotcha.
the I ended up going from there. I didn't stay in California, and I didn't reenlist because they offered me 2 different duty stations. One was like Alaska. Both were unaccompanied, and not that that mattered at the time, but it was Alaska and or Diego Garcia. And so Diego Garcia, of course, is over near the Middle East, and
Okay.
apparently it's a good duty station, but I wasn't really down with going there at that time. So I was like, nah, I'll just get out. And so I went back to, I went to Virginia actually, and I took a position, I took a job, and I was doing, actually worked in an auto body repair shop, and that was fun. That was a lot of fun, and very interesting. But I was getting more and more sick, but I didn't. It's so slow. It's like boiling the chicken. You just it's just so slow. You just don't realize it until you're like, wow. Like, yes, every day you would wake up and you'd be exhausted, and you're like, man, I'm so. But you just slept 14 hours. You're like, how can you be exhausted when you sleep 14 hours? It doesn't make any sense. That's not possible. And your bones hurt, and your joints hurt, and then your body hurts, and your skin hurts, and all these, all these things start happening, and then you're like, something's just not right. And that went on for probably like another couple of years. So I say like 5 years total. I was feeling that way. And I had finally gone to I was also still doing like weekend warrior stuff in Virginia.
Okay.
At Norfolk.
And what
So.
was Weekend Warrior like doing obstacle course races or
Yeah, I wish. No.
yeah.
Weekend warriors, when you're in the reserves, so you get out of active duty, you're still in the reserves
Oh, okay.
generally for a certain period of time. And so you can either do nothing with that, just hang out in the reserves and see if they call you back in for any particular reason, or you can be what's, like an active reservist, where you go in once a month, you do, you work for a weekend, and then, and that's it. And then you get paid for that, and then you go home or whatever. So I did that for like about 2 years after,
Okay.
I
Like the
was done.
National Guard.
Yeah, sort of. Yep.
Okay.
Just like that.
All
Yeah.
right.
So, and then I went out to, I went to the VA because I was feeling really bad, and I couldn't take it anymore. I was just there's something just not right. When something's just not right, right?
Yeah.
And so, I went to the VA, and, of course they take all your blood tests, they do all those little things for you, and they're like, you're in great shape, you know, like there's nothing wrong with you.
Okay.
So, yeah. And so they're like, what you have is what we call an emotional condition. And I'm like, no, what are you saying? Like, this is not in my head. Like, I didn't get it. I didn't understand what they were saying to me. Like, so they did offer me psych medications, of course, because it was emotional condition. And I'm like, I don't need your psych meds. I just need to not have my body hurt. I need to not be tired anymore. And so this was a time when terms like, chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, that terminology, medical terminology, didn't exist.
Okay.
Like it wasn't coined or labeled at that time. So they didn't give me any answers, and I was really, really frustrated. End of the rope kind of thing, end of the line. And it just, you're like, there's a turning point, and you just go like, something has to change. I'm going to figure this out for myself. And somehow that brought me to Texas. To Houston. The answer was in Texas.
Okay.
Right. So, but what's interesting is, so I say that, but you put something out there and you decide to do something. And I didn't know what that was going to look like at that time. I worked in supply in the military. I didn't really have a whole lot of background. They don't really give you that much health knowledge when you're in high school. You might take a health class and learn the basic systems of the body, but that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
And so, I didn't really have that background, but what I was doing was I was going to Houston. There's certain states that if you go to them and you're there for a year, they will pay for you to go to their state school.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, yeah, so that was kind of my plan. I went to Houston, and I was going to work at a veterinary office for the year and then go to Texas A&M to become a veterinary veterinary doctor. That did not work. That was not what, mother, father had in store for me.
Yeah.
But they got me to Texas, so that was cool. And so all of that dream kind of crumbled in the middle of that. But my best friend who went out with me, she had gotten on a position because she was into health, and but she realized when her schooling had fallen through in Tennessee that she was she wanted to go into alternative health because she didn't want to push out meds. She didn't believe in them. And so so she took a job with this company called Ayurvedic Concepts at the time, and they were out of Bangalore, India, and they do formulations. They've been around for a very long time, and they do formulations. In fact, their products are so they're so potent. A lot of places overseas will use them as pharmaceuticals, and they're like pharmaceutical grade.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, so she had gotten on with them, and I was, and she's always teaching me everything that she's learning, and she's like, well, why don't you try them? Let's do this combination, whatever, and start taking them. And so that's pretty much, part of what I did, as I said, on top of the detox and diet. But those formulations were part of that detox, and they were very, very powerful. And within about 60 to 90 days, every symptom that I had had for the past 5 years just disappeared.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, it just disappeared.
And so all those medications, or she was giving you, those were all all natural.
All natural supplements grown in the Himalaya mountains. And I did, when everything went to pot with the veterinary clinic, I ended up getting on with the same, with the company, because I had such a transformation in my own healing. And, and I knew the products because and so for them to hire me on for one of their stores, it was very quick and easy for me to, you know, sell them, obviously, because I had my own personal story. And
Yes.
then, went on to work for them, got kind of an informal Ayurvedic education, and just kept going from there. And, kind of even after we left Side Hustle, still, have helped people, hundreds of people along the way over the past 20 years while working, but at the same time, mostly through referrals, with chronic disease, and eventually fibromyalgia got termed, and so did chronic fatigue, and all these things. And I'm like, that's what I had. That's what you know what I mean? And it just kept coming up. And then 20 years later, which would bring us up to kind of present day, I learned about Gulf War illness.
Mm.
So at the time, obviously, we were just gotten out of it. So it was kind of like the same situation with like, Vietnam, whatever. Those guys got a lot of Agent Orange and that kind of stuff in their body. But this was, something that came up through a report that was done, and on Gulf War syndrome, Gulf War illness. And I'm like, had never heard that term before.
Yeah, neither have I until today. I'm today years old. I'm hearing of it.
Right. Yeah. Well, pretty much. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what all entails Gulf War illness or Gulf War syndrome?
Gulf War syndrome, Gulf War illness. It is basically, it's a combination of chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia are probably the biggest two ailments, so to speak, physical ailments, just chronically exhausted, but yet you can't sleep at night because you have also neurological tics, restless leg syndrome. Some people it affects in the intestines, IBS, headaches, migraines, weird rashes that just come out of nowhere. Like you just break out and they itch like crazy. And so it just really made life miserable for a very long time, and what adds insult to injury, but you don't know it, is what you're eating. It's your diet. And that's probably a really big thing for people out there that have, technically it would be considered all immune system, pretty much immune system, which, is also affecting your mental health, obviously, because you've got to, for me, like I didn't have a lot of support. I had to go to work. Most people have to go to work, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to work through that regardless of how you're feeling. And that is another stress, which makes things worse.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's called getting into that survival mode. But that's what Gulf War illness looks like. There's hundreds of thousands of veterans out there that have it and have had it for 20 years.
Now, is it just, most prevalent in Gulf War veterans, or is it just they gave that term because a lot of Gulf War veterans suffer from it, but other people can have it as well?
Yeah, they started giving those inoculations during the Gulf War.
Okay, so it was found to be caused by the inoculations.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And they do still, up from them, as from what I understand, they have still given, obviously, different inoculations to different, to not in mass as they did at that time, but what's in those inoculations was released, the information, at least some of it. And, there were things like anthrax and bubonic plague and swine flu and bird flu and like, all these crazy things. So
you won't get those things, but we have
right.
other things that
exactly.
side effects may include.
Exactly. So I'm good on that. I won't be getting any of those. So yeah, but so that was but like I said, that was good. It's good to know that there are things that you can do, because fibromyalgia isn't set aside just for Gulf War people. It's not set as, you know what I mean? And there's other things that have stemmed off it, like metabolic syndrome and and all these other things, because obviously it's all connected, right?
Yes.
But what I learned over the 20 years was that your health is 100% mental. And I mean that in a number of different ways, because we talk about mindset, which is a big thing. And you have your mind, you have your body, you have your soul, but there's also that the spirit, which a lot of people overlook the energy. So when I say spirit energy, it's kind of interchangeable, so we are technically the energy and the spirit, and we have the body. The body obviously is the physical, it's the matter, but it's everything starts in that spirit. So when we go to and we talk about the mind and the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, well, the subconscious mind is forming from -6 months in utero to about that 7 years old, and that's the programming. And so there's a lot of things that we get programmed from during that time, but we're not consciously aware of it, right? That's why it's subconscious, right?
Yes.
Unconscious. So we don't know that that's being kind of programmed into us. And those programs are what? They're thoughts, they're beliefs, they're something that we've told ourselves or someone else has told us, because we don't know anything other than what's in our environment and what's around us, right? So we're taking everything in. We're like sponges, at that time. And so I don't know about you, I only have a certain amount of memory from that time period, and it's very, very faint, very faint, right?
Yeah, a lot of shag carpeting,
Right.
so some Sesame Street. Other than that, it's not like an open book.
Right. No, not at all. There's just, very scant memories. And so, but you were obviously thinking, you had thoughts, about things. So it's to say that, so stuff gets put in there, and they actually create nerve pathways, neurological pathways. And so I don't know if you've heard of heart math at all, and it talks about
Heart
the
math.
heart math.
No, I have not.
Yeah, definitely want to check out heart math. It's very interesting.
Okay.
But it basically talks about the heart is also a brain, and it has about 40,000 specialized cells that are brain-like tissue, but obviously not in the brain, right?
Yes.
So what that means is there's a connection between the heart and the brain, and that when something happens, those whether it's really, really good and you're really excited and you're putting out hormones of dopamine and serotonin and all those good feel good hormones, then you create a memory. You create it in your head, but you also create it in your heart. And so when it comes to trauma, it's the same way.
Okay.
But it's through the hormones of stress. So it's aldosterone and adrenaline and cortisol and that kind of thing. And so the cortisol is scientifically documented. It degrades and degenerates the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually, they're recorded, those trauma events, they're recorded in your brain, but they're also recorded in your heart.
Okay.
And so when we talk about those kind of scars, those kind of emotional scars, the healing has to take place in two places, not just one place. And can you talk about it? Well, to a certain extent, you can talk about it just to kind of get that energy out of you, because people you want to have that, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a little bit of relief about telling about it, like acknowledgement, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yes.
You want to be like acknowledge and recognize, like, this happened to me. But as you keep talking about it and keep talking about it and keep talking about it, then you're actually driving it deeper into your psyche, and you're creating more of you're you're creating more of the pathways, but you're really enforcing those pathways, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So this is the reason that people don't feel so great after talk therapy, because it's bringing all that, it just puts you right back in that spot. like you just sent yourself back in time,
Mm-hmm.
because you're that spirit, that energy, there's no time and space, right? So that's what quantum is. There's no time and space. You just brought yourself right back to the trauma, and that's that emotional state. So you go, well, how, you can't like just sit and bottle everything up either, right? Because those are energy blocks.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so this is kind of where, where things have taken me from that time. I did have what they refer to as normal post-traumatic stress disorder from the military, and took a number of years to heal from that. And the only way I was able to do that was energetically. And you have to, it's referred to as an event, which it absolutely is. It's not like a mental condition per se. It's an event. It brings you back in time and space. And so what you have to do is pull out of it from a different mental perspective and understand what's happening in the body. And so that's, yes, challenging, but it can be done. And I actually have recently had an occurrence of something that contributed to what's referred to as complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And so what took me 20 years to heal from normal PTSD, I found a modality referred to as inner resonance alchemy, and that has helped me take that complex PTSD and move through it in like 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's shortened it up tremendously.
Yeah, only by 19 years, 10
19 years.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And
I mean, so I don't, I don't expect you to, talk us through all, at all, but can you give us like a little snapshot of what that entails?
yeah, it's absolutely. So because I think it's really beneficial, because there is no talk therapy, there's no hypnosis, it's super gentle, and there's no trauma recall. And that's the problem, a lot of people face when it comes to like they really want to heal. Like I need to move on with my life. I need to like do something other than sit and wallow in this, emotional mire. And so so inner resonance is about it's actually about the law of attraction,
Mhm.
essentially. So it's talked about in the law of attraction and the law of vibration. They mention frequency, but they really don't get into it. They really don't explain to you that it is the essential key to the law of attraction.
Mhm.
So it's to say, so you understand resonance, you understand music, right?
Yes.
We all kind of understand music to a certain extent.
Mhm.
So music is there's a scale,
Mhm.
and the scale is tuned at certain frequencies, right?
Yes.
So we're talking about frequency. And Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency.
Mhm.
And frequency can be so stealthy
Yep.
because we all have frequency that runs throughout our body in different areas of our body, and they all carry different frequencies. And so healing can be initiated through those frequencies. But so when something, traumatic happens and you're thrown off balance, basically, in your emotional thinking, because now you're like, whoa, you start creating thoughts, right? Or beliefs, and you start dwelling on those, and you're telling the story and all these things. So basically, inner resonance alchemy takes everything, all that emotional stuff that you've accumulated over the years, that maybe you've dealt with some of them, maybe you haven't, but it's like peeling back an onion. I mean, the
Okay.
layers are just deep, and they keep coming off you. And so when you do an inner resonance alchemy, it starts working on those layers, but it's like you feel it kind of come up, you recognize what it is, you go, okay, so I know I probably have some residual anger for
Mhm.
this, or I have some residual bitterness or hatred, or, all those things get stuck in the energy of your body. And eventually, if you don't deal with them, they're going to deal with you on a physical level. So,
Okay.
And this is what the ancient Egyptians believe. This isn't just me saying this.
Yeah.
You know, you can validate anything I'm saying, but it eventually it'll all come back up. And so what the inner resonance does is it takes it out of the subconscious and the conscious mind. Because if you're in what they call survival mode, which is whether it's an actual survival mode where like the tiger back here is like getting ready to eat you for lunch,
Yep.
that's, you know, fight or flight, or you're thinking about, you're in, you know, hustle mode or stress mode or whatever it is, it's releasing that cortisol on a low lying level. So you might not feel it, you know what I mean? Like you're not ready to run for the hills, but it's being released and it's having an effect on your body. It's degrading those cells, degenerating your DNA, and also cutting off your metabolism by 60%. So all these physical things are going on at that same time, right?
Okay.
So the inner resonance, it works on these things through a superconscious level. So you don't think about it, you don't talk about it, you just sit through a session, which is just a live, active experience, basically,
Okay.
you know, guided, awake meditation, so to speak.
Okay.
And you just say yes and thank you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you're super conscious, as long as your subconscious and your conscious agree, and you have that spirit of gratitude, that you can just let it go, and that it's all going to work, that the superconscious is going to take care of it on that other level that we don't see. And as it comes up, you let it go. And there's breathing techniques to kind of walk, you know, through that if it becomes a little bit overwhelming. But it's, if you, like I said, you step outside of it, you recognize what's going on, then you can, you know, touch breath through it, and it moves right off and it's gone, never to return.
That is definitely very interesting. You know, I'm trying to just I'm just working through as you're talking about this, you know, situations that I could possibly do this with.
Right.
And so if I wanted to find this information, where would I go? If I wanted to try this, you know, if I want to practice this on my own,
Well,
or try to get some help with it.
yeah. Well, so I do the live active sessions, and I'm starting to do those. I will be doing them on a regular basis, once a week, and on a live platform. And then of course people can catch the replays on those if they want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is you know, through my website, and I do that, you know, on the Zoom platform. And then of course there's other books and stuff out there that you can read about it, but yeah.
And what is your website, Shannon?
I'm sorry, yeah, it's toughmothers.world.
Toughmothers.world.
Toughmothers.world,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. And where else can we find you?
I also have a YouTube channel,
Okay.
which is my YouTube channel is based around quantum healing. And basically what I do is, so everybody has a sign, you know, a zodiac sign that they were born under. And you just had a birthday, right? So
Yes.
you're a July guy, right?
Late June.
Late June. Okay. So you're Gemini, or you're actually a Cancer?
Cancer.
You are a Cancer. Okay. Cool. So yeah, we're actually polar opposites. I'm a
Okay.
Capricorn. But what's interesting is, you know, we're not just our sun sign. Our sun sign is what we show the world, and it's that face that we put on. It's the masculine energy.
Mm-hmm.
The moon sign is the feminine energy. So you recognize that we have both, you know, masculine and feminine energy. And so the masculine energy is that one that that does work, gets the work
Mm-hmm.
done. It's that the physical gets the work done. The feminine energy is the creative energy. And so your moon sign is based on where the moon was in, you know, in the sky at the time that you were born.
Okay.
So that will tell you what your moon sign is.
Okay.
And And it's really interesting because it will teach you so much more about yourself than you could have ever possibly imagine. But so I take that anyways. The reason I say is because so I use these cards that were created by Dr. Gene Logan. They're healing glyphs. And a glyph is a seagull. It's our original language of light. So obviously, English is a Babylonian language that we're taught. And it's obscure, and it has dual meanings. Is basically, like I said, it's Babel. And so the original language of light is like hieroglyphics. So they're pictures. And when you take them into your superconscious mind, um, it starts working on that level.
Okay.
So where, I'll do a Celtic spread, and I'll pull, the different cards from that healing deck, and kind of just intuitively go through them for the sign. And we carry all the signs within us, because all the signs are they rule over certain parts of the body. So it doesn't matter. Like you could watch your Cancer, video, but you could also watch a Capricorn video, and it would, you know what I mean? It's what resonates. It goes back to that resonation, what resonates with you. You'll feel it in your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You'll know it, and you'll hear tarot readers say that a lot. Take what resonates, and what doesn't, just, leave it, because your super conscious knows what's actually resonating and what's not. You might know on a certain level, but your super conscious knows what you need.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool.
And then what is the name of the YouTube channel?
Yes, the YouTube channel it's Tough Mothers.
Okay.
11th House Energy.
Okay. Tough Mothers, 11 House Energy.
11th House Energy. Yes.
Well, okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. And anywhere else we can find you besides YouTube and toughmothers.world?
At the moment, no, at the beach, but coming up, I will be having a podcast.
Excellent.
Yes, that I'm getting ready to launch my podcast. I was hoping for late July, but I'm putting a hard stop for August 4th. And so that is called Breaking Good. And it's about raising heaven from the inside out and from the bottom up.
Excellent.
And yeah, so gratitude and grace. And, we're going to talk about a lot of different things that are going on in the world. And, I'm a big neuroscience person, and obviously astrotheology, and, quantum physics and quantum healing, and all different kind of things to kind of help people really understand who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to change your life and change your current paradigm, you have to start with knowing who you are and knowing what you're capable of doing.
Yes.
Because if you don't know, and you're taking everything based off of what's around you on the outside, well, all those things can fall away.
Mm-hmm.
And if all those things are falling away, who are you really, and what are you made of, and what are you capable of doing? And then to move from that, you have to get out of survival mode. That's what inner resonance alchemy will do. And then once you get out of survival mode, then you get to the really cool stuff, which is the manifestation. And then you learn how to manifest what it is that you really want. And that's co-creating with the creator, like what you really want. And you'll remember I said it goes back to the law of attraction. Well, law of attraction, people go, well, your thoughts create your things. And that's not entirely true, but it's partly true. You know what I mean? But you're only gonna experience a certain amount of success by doing processes. Processes will get you so far, but sometimes you're going to come to a block, a wall in the road. And when you come to that wall, it's the energy.
Okay.
It's the energy.
Wow. Well, this has been very fascinating. Shannon, thank you very much for talking with me today.
Thank you.
I greatly appreciate it. I'll put in the notes where people can find you. And lastly, the question everyone wants to know the answer to: What is your favorite dinosaur?
Oh, my favorite dinosaur. Wow. That is a tough one, because there's so many cool dinosaurs, right? My first initial gut reaction was to say Dino, and Dino is a Brachiosaurus.
Brontosaurus, I think.
Brontosaurus, okay.
Yeah.
But I thought that's too easy. And and they're what, like gentle giants, right?
Yes.
So I do like him. So that's like my first gut reaction, the gentle giant. But I like the raptor, Velociraptor he's just a badass.
Yep.
You know,
Yep. Definitely.
he's cool. So if those guys got together, it'd be a weird breed, but
that's definitely a conversation for another episode.
for sure.
So, yeah. Well, again, thanks a lot, Shannon. I greatly appreciate your time, and you please have a great day.
You as well, Chris. Thank you so much.
Hey, I hope you enjoy that conversation with Shannon. If you want to reach out to her, you can find her on Facebook at Tough Mothers, and the word tough is in all caps, as well as her website, toughmothers.world. If you want to listen to her, you can find her on the Breaking Good podcast. I'm sure it's on all the podcast places. If you want to find out what I'm doing in the world of speaking, you can find me at chrisdtgordon.com. You can also reach out to me on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram at chrisdtgordon. And I'm still looking for funny and weird comments and reviews to feature on the podcast. So if you have something funny or weird, but also positive, let's not be a negative Nancy, please leave me one of those funny or weird comments, and I will definitely feature them on the podcast. All right. Thanks a lot for joining me. Please have a great day, and remember to pass on perfection and go for greatness.